Okay, and now I'm going to start the webinar. Okay, oh, wait a minute. Quickly. Just want a bit of water in case I need a water. I drink. Just turn my phone on to mute. 7 o'clock, 7:01. Okay.
Turn my phone off. It is off. It's always off.
Matt Wilton, welcome everyone to, well, my first webinar chat with a Maguire graduate, and this is the first of what I'm going to be doing quite a bit in the next month or so. So it'd be great to have as many people watching. If you've got any questions for Umarah, please type them into the chat and we'll go through them as we go, really. But yeah, so first of all, so Umarah, welcome to this chat, and it would be really nice to find out a bit about you. So yeah, can you tell everyone who you are and a little bit about what you do at the moment?
Yeah. Umarah Hussain is my name. I'm currently a primary teacher. I qualified about 5 years ago, I'd say. But I joined Maguire in April. And since then, I've started a new job at a new school. And I'm enjoying it. I'm finally able to teach and not worry about my speech, which I never thought would happen having a stammer. So yeah.
Excellent. So what has your stammer been like through the years then? Like, what was it like during childhood, and when did you notice that you had a speech problem?
I never noticed until a teacher in year 1 or 2, I think, spoke to my mum. Obviously, this was about 22, 23 years ago. So my mum didn't know. She referred me, and yeah, so I've had it for as long as I can remember. But as a child, it didn't really affect me. I think as I went on to secondary school, that's when it affected me more. And there were a lot of people, including teachers, who weren't quite understanding or accepting. And I did end up leaving that school to a different one. But I think that experience is what triggered my negative thoughts towards it, I think, because before that, I was fine with my stammer. So it must have been that bad experience at secondary school which started it all, but it's fine.
So what was your stammer like then? What was it? Was it quite severe? Was it quite mild? What was it like?
I'd say it was quite bad. At that point, I thought it was mild, but obviously being on Maguire for 7 months, I now know that it wasn't mild, it was quite severe. And it did hold me back a lot, but I tried not to let it hold me back, but it did, looking back. But it never stopped me from going to university and getting my degrees. So it didn't affect me that much, but there were obstacles along the way.
Mm. So what were these obstacles, and what was the toughest situations? Can you remember what they were like?
My toughest situation was in year 9 when I was in maths, and I was having a general chat with a friend who, at the beginning, everyone had a chat. And my maths teacher at a local school, I'm not going to name because there's probably people from High Wycombe on here. But he basically imitated my stammer and laughed in my face in front of the whole class, and that was the most embarrassed I had felt my whole life. And of course he lied, and he's still a teacher, but I think that experience has now taught me that don't let anything affect you. Like, I could have easily used that experience to not go to university, not work hard, but I kind of used it as a positive to work harder and prove him wrong as well as anyone else. And at university, a very common university rejected my offer for the PGCE because of my stammer, but I ended up going to a different university, and as a teacher, it's the same happened, but I guess as you get older, you learn to not care as much.
Mm. So did you
Yeah.
have Mickey taking from other children, from peers when you were at school or university?
Um, at school, yes. At university, a couple of people, but generally because I was on a course where they should be accepting, I didn't really experience it that much. But there were a few occasions, but not as much as school.
Mm, mm. So with what you had to deal with that teacher, that sounds pretty heavy to have to deal with. But I know you said,
Yeah.
but I didn't let it get in the way. Did it not
Yeah.
affect your confidence? How much did it affect your confidence and your self-esteem? Because that's quite a hard thing to deal with, isn't it? Especially when you're younger.
Yeah. At that point, I didn't tell anyone. It just kept on happening, and I was going to move school anyway. So I eventually told my head of year, and obviously he lied, and nothing happened. At that point, it did affect me, but I think I never realized how much it affected me until now uh, when I'm an adult. I realize, oh yeah, even now I still get angry talking about it, but
Mm,
I don't care as much anymore. But I think it definitely led me to become a teacher. So
mm, mm.
yeah.
So when you were trying to cope with the stammer, what did you do? What did you try to have any coping techniques to try and get through school?
I When I was a child, I went to speech therapy
Hmm.
under the NHS, and because my stammer didn't really affect me at primary school, I don't think I put as much work into it.
Yeah.
And then at secondary school, I did go to speech therapy again, but all these emotions were going on with what happened at school, not telling anyone, kind of dealing with it alone without anyone. So I think that affected the work I put in. And then I hit 18 and was off the NHS. So yeah.
Okay. So what about words and sounds? Was there any particular words and sounds that you had problems with, or was it generally any word or sound?
It's the words and sounds that I'm currently working on. The Fs. Um, there were a few more, but it was mainly them two that I'm currently working on.
Okay.
So
And
they've always been hard words and
yeah,
sounds.
did you used to try and say them, or did you do what I used to do and just try and just avoid them and swap and change words just to get through situations?
I definitely didn't overkill them. I avoided them. I did what I could to avoid, even though I had a overt stammer, which is quite obvious, I still used avoidance mechanisms to get through.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and obviously sometimes they work, don't they? And they just about
Mm,
scrape you through situations, and then it happens again. It's quite hard to. You're always running away from situations.
yeah.
So you went to university. What did you study?
I studied childhood and youth studies and then my PGCE.
Okay. And and so your stammer at that stage, was it as bad as it could be, or was it not as bad, or what was it like for you having to attend lectures and things like that?
I think at university, because a lot of the children, a lot of the people at university were mature students or were adults who wanted to work with children. It wasn't as bad, but I think psychologically for me, it was more than what other people thought because I still speak to my friends from uni who are like, it wasn't even that bad. And I was like, really? So the psychological aspects for me were probably worse than my actual stammer at uni anyway.
Hmm. What about with your family? What was it like having to speak to your parents or to your
The
siblings?
worst.
Was it?
Yeah, I think because I live with my parents and my family and no one else stammers, it was kind of hard to explain what I was going through without sounding like I wasn't saying the right thing. I would get comments from my family members, which obviously didn't help the situation, but you can't say anything to family. So I think my fear levels were still high. And there are still times now where it's harder with my parents, I think, because they've been through the journey, but not understanding it fully because they don't stammer. It's hard, but
Mm.
I think now they've learned to understand it a lot more than they did when I was a child or before Maguire.
Mm. Excellent. Well, so far tonight, I think you're coming across really well. It's quite a good insight into your background, Umarah.
Yeah.
So can you tell me, I mean, did you do any other therapy? Was it just the speech therapy that you did when you were younger?
No, as soon as I left university, I decided to apply for my PGCE and I got to the point where I had enough of my stammer, obviously not enough, but enough of it. And the adult waiting list for speech therapy was really long. So I went private for about 3 years, 3 years, and then lockdown hit, and I was like, no, this isn't working. So yeah, that's when I decided I wanted to do Maguire.
Mm, mm. So was that your lowest point then, or do you think that did you start getting more used to, because some people get used to it a little bit and accept that the fact that they're going to have to be like that for the rest of their lives and that they can't do anything, nothing's going to help them. I mean, what situation were you in then?
When lockdown hit, I think schools were closed. I was doing supply teaching and I got to a point where because I wasn't really speaking to many people apart from family who at this point living in under the same roof as your family was difficult anyway, and then having a stammer on top of that and getting comments from people in your household, not meant in a horrible way, but at that point I took everything the wrong way and
Hmm.
I wanted to leave my job. I wanted to stop teaching. I got to a point where I wasn't even talking to my family members, and that was the lowest point. It's only now I look back, it's like, wow, can't believe I got through that point.
Mm. And so those situations that you've had to face, how's that made you feel in the past?
It made me feel quite isolated and alone because there was no one else who stammered or understood what I went through, regardless of having friends and family around me who I spoke to. They didn't understand. And because felt alone, I was actually, I think the psychological aspects of it affected me more. And then I eventually got to the point where I was like, I didn't want to speak to anyone. So I was like, maybe I need to do something about it because what I've already done isn't working. So yeah, that's when I was like, right, you've worked hard to get to where you've got to, overcome a lot of challenges. You can't just give up give up now on everything that you've worked for, which is why I chose to do Maguire.
Mm. Okay, so how did you find out about the Maguire program?
Funnily enough, I was Googling speech therapy programs that work,
Okay.
and the Maguire program came up. And a few years back, I was halfway through doing my application, and I was like, no, I'm not ready. And then April hit, and I was like, right, I think now's the time to do it. But what put me off the first time was the mechanical speech aspect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the going away for 4 days, no phones, nothing. So
Mm.
that aspect, and I was like, how will I get 4 days off doing something for my speech? But I didn't think it was possible at that point. But obviously, you have to make it work when you hit rock bottom.
So, you applied for the first ever online course, didn't you? And I know
I
that
did, yeah,
sadly you had to cancel that at the last
yeah.
minute. So then you eventually came on the course. Was it in April, wasn't it, this year?
April, yeah.
What was your thoughts and feelings behind doing the online course? Because I mean, obviously you've got nothing to compare it to the face-to-face ones that we used to do, and that we will be doing again hopefully next year at some point. But
Yeah,
what was it like for you thinking about doing the online course for 3 days before you started it?
I was so scared. I thought, is this going to be as beneficial as a face-to-face course?
Mm.
And I thought, I did watch a few videos from the Maguire YouTube before applying for the online course because I thought this is my final option. If this doesn't work, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll probably quit teaching and get an office job, which isn't me. And I wanted it to work so much that I was like, regardless of how difficult it is, regardless of the online aspect of it, I'm still going to do it.
Mm.
And it was scary because at times on the online course, you were alone with no one else there. You weren't able to speak to friends or family during the break times or whatnot. And that aspect was difficult. But I think on a face to face course, you have the constant support, even in your break times or lunch times and things like that. So that aspect was hard, but it's also a good way to do things, because if I spoke to family, I probably wouldn't have used the technique properly. And I made sure I was strict. I was like, if I speak, I'm just ruining it for myself. So yeah, I didn't speak to anyone for 4 days, which was probably hard because I did it at home.
Mm. Okay, well, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about the course in a minute. There's 21 people watching at the moment, and there's a mixture from what I can see of people that are inquiring about the program and people that are already graduates. Some have done the online version, some did the face-to-face version, and there's obviously some people here that are fluent speakers as well. So we've got a bit of a mixture, but just going back to what you were saying about the course itself, for those people that are or might be thinking about doing it on a face-to-face course, in the 10-minute break every hour, you will have an opportunity to wander around and some of the coaches might speak to you. But there's not really any speaking then for the first day and a half anyway in the
Yeah.
breaks. So really for Umarah, having 10 minutes to switch off at home, the temptation's not there to speak to a coach or a graduate because there's no one there. And it's an opportunity to just switch off. Uh, I mean, we've said on these webinars before, people have said, which is the best option? Shall I wait for face to face? Should I do the online? And to be honest, they're both really, really good in their own way. I'd never thought I'd have said that a year ago, just before the first one, because I really didn't see that we'd be able to do it. But it is very effective, and it has things that help quicker and faster than what they would do on the face-to-face versions, like a lot of
Yeah.
one-to-one coaching in breakout rooms without any distractions from other people. I think that helps you to get used to the technique a lot quicker. But Umarah, if it'd be really nice if people could see your first day video. I know you've got it there, and just to say what is a first day video, it's the beginning of the course where we record the graduate speaking, ask them a few questions so that we can find out, sorry, not the graduate, the new student, so that we can find out what their speech is like, what kind of stammer they've got, etc. And also for them to look back at this as a record of achievement of not wanting to go back to what you were like on your first day. So, Umarah, if you can please work it out, try and share it, that would be great.
Hopefully it works.
You don't have to pay it all, it's up to you what you want.
It should work. Okay.
Okay,
Where shall I stop?
up to you. When you think people probably have seen enough.
I'll start from about 5 seconds because it was mute for the first few
Okay.
seconds. Hello,
Hello, could you tell me your name, please?
Umarah Hussain.
It's nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Hi, Wickham.
How long have you lived there?
Um, all my life. For 24 years.
Okay. So there's a little glimpse of your first day video. How do you feel about that looking back, seeing it? You've seen it a few times now, but how
I
do you
have seen it a few times, but every time I watch it, I still can't watch it without every emotion coming back, even though I've watched it a good few times.
What's apparent, apart from obviously a lot of struggle, there's the the eye contact and the body language. You know, again, very uncomfortable, isn't it? You don't want to really be there, having to speak in front of all these people on Zoom. But yeah, you've come a fair bit since then, haven't you? And can you tell us a little bit about the course? You said what the course has been like and how hard it was, or can you go into more detail? How hard was it, and did you feel like you could keep going through doing it? Because it's 12 hours a day for 3 days.
Yeah, it is a really difficult course, and I don't think people realize how difficult it is until they do it. I certainly didn't think it would be that hard. I thought it would be hard, but was like, it's fine, they'll be easy on us. But no, they weren't easy on us. They were made us be disciplined every single minute of the day, which looking back is good because I wouldn't be where I am now if it wasn't for that. But there were times on the course where I was like, don't think I can do this. It's way too difficult. And especially on the Friday, I think, when we had to speak and say where we lived, that day I was like, I cannot do this because I live in Buckinghamshire and bees were the worst sound ever. And every single coach I was saying it to, I was just blocking and I was like, don't think I can do this. The minute the Zoom camera went off, I just burst into tears. I was like, I feel like it's only me, but obviously it wasn't. And it was worth it. The tears were worth it. But it doesn't stop after the course. You have to put so much time and effort into your speech on a daily basis. For over 7 months, I've put a lot of time into my speech as well as other aspects of my life, like my career, my personal life. But you have to make it work. You have to put the time in, otherwise you can't do 4 days and be like, that's it, no more work. You have to put the effort in.
What was the hardest thing about the course, do you think?
Trying to remember from 7 months ago. But the hardest part of the course, I'd say, is overcoming the psychological battle that you have with your speech, because I wasn't ready to accept it. And until you accept it, you won't really get far. So I'm still working on accepting it, but I've definitely come a long way because I never thought I'd do disclosures at work in a positive way. And I've just done an assembly a few weeks ago, so it is possible.
And what about the support network then? Obviously, you said you've got to keep going. I mean, do you speak to people
Yeah.
regularly? Who do you call? What do you do to help yourself?
So having a membership for Maguire means that you're part of you have access to a international phone and Skype list where there's coaches from across the whole world who stammer, and you can call them anytime to practice your speech, and you get given primary coaches who I used to call every day, but now it's probably once a week. But I do make sure I call at least 2 or 3 coaches a day, just so that I'm in full Maguire mode. And there's support groups which have been online since lockdown. I know there's face-to-face ones coming up, hopefully. So that's helped. And also other graduates on the program, especially other teachers who have probably helped me get through every struggle and hardship the past 7 months, because you can tell whichever coach you want to about your struggles, but unless you're a teacher and you're quite new to Maguire, juggling it both is quite difficult, and I don't think anyone understands it unless they're a teacher on the program. So there's a few watching now, but yeah, they've got me through the last 7 months. Thanks, Laura. But yeah, they've got me through all the hard days that I never thought I'd get through. And there was a few weeks ago where I thought, that's it, I'm going to quit. I can't do this anymore. But again, my friends off the course were like, no, it's fine to have this patch of turbulence. So yeah, without the support network and the Maguire community, I probably wouldn't have overcome what I've overcome in such a short time.
And this didn't you have a few interviews until you got this job?
Yeah, I had, I can't remember, but it was about 5 or 6 interviews, and the school I'm currently in is so accepting and supportive. So I'm glad I waited until the right job came along, because again, it's not just the Maguire support, it's the outside network. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be using my technique at work or volunteer to do things like an assembly or things like that if I didn't feel comfortable at the school I'm in. So yeah.
So what was the assembly? Was it just doing a assembly with the children and the teachers, or did you talk about your speech?
So on Friday, the 22nd of October, it was International Stammering Awareness Day, and I volunteered, which again, I never thought I'd do ever. I volunteered to do an assembly, and I had the choice to do it on Zoom or to do it half on Zoom and half in person. And obviously with Maguire being on Zoom, I could have chosen just Zoom, but I wasn't allowed. No, I'm joking. I chose to do it in person with half, and I did an assembly in front of 700 people, half on Zoom, half in person. And I still get people come up to me now asking about my speech, and I'm just like, how do they know my name? And I'm like, oh yeah, I did a assembly 2 weeks ago, that's why. So everywhere I go in school, I kind of get Hi, Miss Hussain, how's your stammer? So they're all quite open, which is nice.
Brilliant. It's good that you've got that support. And what's it like teaching with the children?
My stammer, funnily enough, hasn't always been that bad around children when I'm working directly with them, but situations like observations or whole class teaching was always a struggle. And I've always wanted to, I don't know how to explain this, but I've always wanted to be a teacher who didn't have to worry about her speech or didn't have to worry about someone walking in and me having an anxiety attack because I might stammer or be seen as less of a teacher. And I know it's probably all in my head, but I sometimes felt like my stammer didn't allow me to be the teacher I wanted to be. And since joining Maguire, I feel like I can be the teacher I always wanted to be. I've still got a long way to go, but I'm able to speak to parents confidently, to the rest of my team confidently, to other members of the school. So yeah, it's definitely helped with my job. So yeah.
Okay. Now, that's absolutely fantastic. It's been so nice. We've overrun by a little bit, but it's just really nice having a chat with you and listening to what you've been through and what you've been doing since. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there. Is it Naila Javed has said, "Hey, is she someone that you know?"
She works in the school I work at.
Is she?
Hi, Nyla.
Excellent, Naila. Well, yeah, if there's anyone that watched it tonight that didn't see it all and you'd like me to send you a version, please let us know. We'll probably be putting it somewhere on Facebook and on the website as well. And next week I'll be speaking to another graduate, slightly later time of 8 o'clock next Monday. But thank you very much, Umarah, and yeah, I really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you on the next course as well. You're going to be doing things on that next course, I hope.
In
I hope,
December.
I hope so.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
am. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes. I'm looking forward to that as well. But okay, well done. You're the
Thanks,
best.
Laura.
From Laura. So fantastic. Thank you so much for tonight. Well
Thank
done.
you.
You're a hell of an inspiration. So I will speak to you soon. Take care. Thank you for
Thank
being here,
you.
everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.